Welcome back, everybody. It's Andrew here. Let's talk about Mitch McConnell. Mitch McConnell has cracked on so many issues over the last couple of years when it comes to stimulus checks, the debt ceiling, the physical infrastructure plan, and now we're wondering could he potentially crack again and help Democrats get a stimulus check done, whether it's for seniors or a fourth round of a nationwide stimulus check, because he himself said that the American people are most concerned about inflation. And he went on to slam Democrats for focusing on things like voting rights. So let's talk about Mitch McConnell. Let's discuss the details. But before we jump into it, do me a quick favor, like this video, hit subscribe, and share this channel with anyone who you think might find this helpful. This is a community for seniors, and my job here is to be a voice for you and be a voice for seniors to make sure President Biden keeps his promises to increase Social Security benefits, increase SSI and SSDI, and even approve a stimulus check for seniors in this next stimulus package. So thank you so much for being a part of our community. And if you really want to support my work, subscribe to my second channel and become a member of this channel. The link to both of those are going to be in the comments of this video. And if you'd like to become a member, click on the link. And then once you get to my YouTube page, you're going to see a join button right here in the middle of the screen. Hit join, and that basically allows you to give a monthly donation that allows me to do this full time, to do the research and bring you the news that affects seniors the most. So thank you so much for your support. And with that said, let's jump right into today's update. Of course, we're trying to get the stimulus package done with a stimulus check for seniors. Bernie is pushing for $1,000, and many groups, including this community, are pushing for at least $2,000. Now, currently, everything is focusing around the filibuster. Now, the filibuster is something that needs to be changed in order to get things like voting rights done, immigration reform, and not to say that I'm in favor of these things. Now, I'm just throwing these things out there, but the purpose of this channel and this video specifically is to talk about the filibuster in regards to stimulus. Now, I've talked about it ad nauseum in my last 10 videos, but if they change the filibuster rules, it's going to allow Democrats to do multiple smaller stimulus packages and make it a lot more easy to get more stimulus done. Well, what's going on with Mitch McConnell? Of course, at this point, we know we don't really need Mitch McConnell to vote for a stimulus package. If we do it through budget reconciliation, all we need is 51 votes in the Senate. And when you take Kamala Harris into account, Democrats have every single vote they need as long as they can just get Joe Manchin and Kyrsten Sinema on board. So why are we talking about Mitch McConnell? Well, a couple of reasons. First of all, Mitch McConnell has been shown to crack on various issues over the last 18 months. Now, when it came to the physical stimulus plan, he came together with Democrats and got that done on a bipartisan way, completely bipartisan, and they got over 60 votes, which could not be filibustered. He also cracked and helped Democrats raise the debt ceiling, as well as extend government funding to avoid a government shutdown. Now, that's an issue that has to be addressed again in February, but we'll talk about that in a later video. The point I'm trying to make here is that Mitch McConnell has cracked multiple times, and now it's looking like in this speech he just gave on the Senate floor, he talks about the fact that Democrats are way off right now by focusing on voting rights when they should be focusing on inflation. Now, that's a double-edged sword because on the one side, we know Mitch McConnell says Democrats should be focusing on inflation, but on the other hand, we know that Mitch McConnell also says that Democrats' stimulus has caused inflation. But one thing I think Mitch McConnell would agree on is stimulus to folks who are lower income or middle to lower income, less than $40,000 per year. Giving those people stimulus really doesn't cause inflation. So this puts us in a situation where we're thinking, okay, if Mitch McConnell is telling Democrats, stop focusing on voting rights, start focusing on inflation, then we also know that giving stimulus to lower income folks doesn't cause inflation. Well, maybe there's an opportunity here to work with Mitch McConnell. He's worked with Democrats on the debt ceiling, on infrastructure, on government funding. And hey, saying this, and I can hear myself say this, I know it sounds a little bit optimistic and almost crazy to think that Mitch McConnell could help Democrats get a stimulus package done. But in this video, guys, I want you to watch this speech from Mitch McConnell discussing the fact that Democrats are focusing on the wrong thing. They really shouldn't be focusing on voting laws when what they should be doing is tackling inflation. Now, when you take this into account with the broader context of the fact that both Democrats and Republicans have acknowledged that giving stimulus checks to the American people helps both sides win elections. I've talked about this at nauseum as well. Those two Senate seats in Georgia last year, Democrats promised a third stimulus check. They won both of those seats probably because of that, and then they sent out a third stimulus check. Governor Newsom in California, he was doing really poorly in the polls. He actually approved a fifth stimulus check at the state level in California, and then he ended up rallying and winning that election in California. Both Democrats and Republicans have taken note of this. So, could we end up in a situation where, with these midterm elections coming up in November, we could get another round of stimulus checks, just like we did in January of 2020, then again in March of 2021, and last summer in 2021 when Governor Newsom approved that check at the state level? Could this happen once again? Huge elections coming up. Both chambers up for grabs. Democrats could easily lose control of both chambers, leaving President Biden a sitting duck. So this is a situation where we're thinking, can Mitch McConnell make the political calculation where he says, hey, getting more stimulus checks done is going to help Republicans more than it helps Democrats? That's just a situation we're throwing out there. It's something people are speculating on. But with that said, folks, I know it's optimistic. I know it even sounds a little bit crazy, but if you really dig deep and think back, Mitch McConnell helped approve the first and second stimulus check, so it's not completely out of the question. This actually is a real possibility, although I would say it's not exactly likely to happen. It's something we're monitoring and keeping our eye on, right? The point of this channel is to always bring you the news, see what's happening, and what could potentially happen next. And as I said previously in this video, Mitch McConnell has cracked multiple times on physical stimulus, on raising the debt ceiling, on extending government funding, so many issues across the board. So we could potentially end up in a scenario where they get 60 votes and they get 10 Republicans, including Mitch McConnell, to actually vote for and approve another stimulus check before these midterm elections. So, in this clip, this speech from Mitch McConnell, he talks about the fact that Democrats are focusing on the wrong thing. Polls show that Americans really, for the most part, aren't too concerned with voting laws, and they're more concerned with inflation, the increasing costs of goods and services, and the fact that the American people need help, whether that's in the form of controlling inflation and or approving stimulus to directly help the American people cover this increase in cost. So, please stick around, folks. Let's take a look, see what Mitch McConnell had to say. And again, don't forget to subscribe. I will keep you posted as things develop. We should have a lot of updates in the next couple of weeks, so there's a lot of news to come. But let's take a look and see what Mitch McConnell had to say. Let me know your thoughts in the comments, and I'll see you on the next video.
A recent survey asked Americans for their view of the most important problems facing our country. Of course, we know what Washington Democrats view as their top priority. President Biden and Senate Democrats have been actually shouting at the American people that an evil, racist, anti-voting conspiracy will destroy democracy forever unless Democrats get total one-party control of the entire government starting next week. But are the American people buying any of it? Is this what working families want prioritized? So let's take a look. In a recent survey, Gallup asked citizens for their priorities, what they thought we ought to be doing. Do you know what share of Americans said election law? Less than 1/2 of 1%. 1/2 of 1%. Nobody in this country is buying the fake hysteria that democracy will die unless Democrats get total control. Here's what people do care about. The top response at 21% was poor government leadership. About a year into the Biden administration, the American people's single greatest concern is bad leadership. And when you dig into the other issues, you can see why. Some of the next largest concerns were either general economic problems or inflation and rising costs in particular. And no wonder. No wonder. New figures just yesterday show our country continues to experience the worst inflation in 40 years. 40 years. Gas prices are nearly $1 higher than a year ago. Grocery prices are up 6.5%. And across the economy, inflation has exceeded 5% every month for 7 straight months. There's no working family that's not been hurt directly by this. Another huge chunk of Americans said their chief worry is the coronavirus. Certainly no surprise there. A year into the administration that promised it would shut down the virus. Well, what do we have? Record-setting new cases, shortages of testing, shortages of important treatments in part because the Biden administration's decisions. We have reports of multiple states potentially limiting or excluding patients from life-saving treatments on the basis, believe it or not, of their ethnicity. And still, 2 years into this, notwithstanding abundant vaccines and a milder variant, we have big labor bosses in big cities permitted to lock vulnerable kids out of the classroom. Oh, and when kids are in the classroom, the Department of Education and the Department of Justice try to persecute concerned parents who dare ask what their kids are learning. So, Madam President, these are just a few examples of real problems. These are the kinds of places where the American people need this dramatically unpopular administration to entirely refocus. Yesterday, a new poll indicated that 33% of Americans approve of the president, 33%. When he was inaugurated and pledging to govern for all Americans, to heal and unite the country, this White House enjoyed impressive approval ratings. But as the far left has been handed the reins, the support has cratered. Now, there's a path forward for my Democratic colleagues to respond to the country they have so badly disappointed. But it isn't to try to break the Senate and rewrite election laws. It's to actually start tackling the issues that American families need tackled.